Hello and welcome to the 100th Mile Podcast. It is day 8 on Veer, one of the hardest ultra cycling races in the world, 4,000 kilometres. The riders are cycling across Western Europe. And today I'm joined by race organiser in tow. I've got Ryan, one of our photographers and filmmakers, and we've also got Patrick here, who's another one of the race helpers. Lots and lots to look forward to. We are in a really exciting point of the race. We've gone past halfway, certainly in duration and distance. And they're crossing the Alps. Things are changing. So Ryan's actually been up there today with Katerina, who was on the podcast a couple of days ago. They've been checking out just what the riders are going to experience. They've seen a few of them go past, so you get to see that later. Also this morning, I got out with Mark, who's in the top 5, and I chatted to him about how his race was going. There's plenty of other features. Obviously, Ian's going to give us another fascinating fact about Hannibal. But let's get stuck straight into it before we do the race analysis with our guests. Patrick, tell us a little bit about your background.
Hello, hi everyone, thanks for having me here. I was a road cyclist. I competed 25 years in the junior cycling and then moved out because it wasn't fun anymore and try new stuff from the fit world and run out ultra cycling. I'm trying just to have some fun. I prefer doing backpacking by myself and doing my holiday on my bike.
But you've done some big races before, right? What's the biggest one you've done?
The transcontinental race.
Transcontinental.
It wasn't easy. It was the first time. And in the last September, October, I decided to make another race, but via race. At the end, I decided not to race because I have a lot of physical problems. So then I decided to get in touch with Ian and Ingeborg, the race organizer, and try to help somehow. Yeah.
So we might see you racing next year if you're physically fit and strong.
Yeah, I like to compete.
Yeah.
I like to compete, so I would like to be in my best shape and race.
But I know you've been of tremendous help this year. The reconnaissance of the routes, because you've been here in Italy. You've been able to tell Ian about things.
Yeah, we have been from Modena to the flatland of Florence.
And I know you also have a passion for photography.
Yeah.
And you've been around the riders here at the refuge, snapping away, getting some good shots.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for coming along and helping us out.
Yeah.
Look forward to getting your insight into some of the Italian riders a bit later on. Ryan, we've shared a room together before.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Never boring.
Yeah.
So you've got an amazing background, right? You spent years working with people like Damien Rice, and you've raced as well as photographed ultra cycling races. You've done the TCR yourself.
Yeah.
So a huge insight. What brought you to Veer?
Well, I love to do first editions. I did a few first editions in film before. I think they're always magical. They're a bit like a firework. So when I heard about Via, it's a long 4,000 kilometer road race. There's not many of them, and I could see that Ian and Ingeborg had put a lot of work to make it full of quality. And so I insisted they let me take part in it. And I chickened out of racing it, to be honest. I just didn't feel like I had it in me to do 4,000k, and I thought of all the people who would train really well for that. So I insisted that they hire me instead. And I must have been convincing, because I'm here, and I'm here since the beginning until the end.
And you're still managing to ride your bike a bit, aren't you? You've been chasing some of the riders down the descents and up the climbs to get the best shots and videos.
Yeah, I pretentiously thought that I could follow Adam Bialek going down the mountains in the fog, but he was going 80 kilometers an hour, and I don't do that. And I was really scared, if I'm honest. But other riders, I've been able to follow them downhill mostly. I wouldn't try to follow them uphill. I've been with Will uphill, Will Dixon. Your good mate, and that was tough. These guys are strong. They're not playing around, and following them downhill, following them day and night, and trying to either get photography or now switching to film because we're a big team with many people. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited to chat with you now, because you have been in the thick of the action. We're often just hiding away, doing some editing, working on the podcast, but you've been out there with the riders. You've been seeing them,
speaking to them, and you've experienced some amazing things. So give us some of those anecdotes out on the road, the most memorable things over the past week for you.
Yeah, like sometimes you get like maybe 5 minutes, to take pictures or film them a little bit. You don't want to intrude too much on the race, but they are usually pretty lonely out there, so they're very happy to see a familiar face. And the magic of ultra distance is probably all the stories you collect in such a short time. It's hard not to disturb the race by staying a little bit longer than would be ideal with the riders, because they're very happy actually to see somebody. They're pretty lonely out there. And also the fact that we approach them by bike makes a huge difference. It's not a car. I go to them on the bike, and yeah, they have plenty of amazing stories. I think it was Bruno this morning who was saying like, I'm so hungry, and it feels so good to be hungry, because he's been like many people having a really hard time eating due to the heat, and he just knows that like his engine will function better with a little bit of food. And we saw him like a few hours later climbing the Nivolet, and he was like on fire. He was passing carbon people. It was really good. Or like Roy, we had like a quick conversation this morning, and he was saying that he loves sleep. And I thought that was a really funny quote on an ultra where like everybody's basically not sleeping. There's been stories of sleeping. Chris Thomas had an amazing night in an abandoned house. Apparently Ian was telling me that he's now like making a habit of sleeping in an abandoned house, despite the fact that he's been like scared to death that night, because he's a very rational guy, and he doesn't believe in ghosts and stuff like that, but he was sensing something and hearing noises in that house. Then another rider came, so he felt less lonely and less scared. But suddenly at 4 a.m, there's a massive light coming down the stairs, and they see Christian with his bike, and Chris is like, oh, that's the ghost. And then Chris just has a moment of questioning, why did he sleep upstairs? Why did he bring his bike up the stairs to sleep upstairs? Like, is it like where the bedroom was and he knows it? So from now on, we shall refer to Christian as the ghost of Christian. There's many stories like this. Chris Thomas was hilarious. Who else? He's obsessed with Ervind, that he thought was named Ivan. So he named him Ivan the Terrible, because Ervind, the Norwegian rider, actually sleeps like 8 to 9 hours per day, and then hammers at 30k an hour. So basically, Chris sleeps 3 hours, eats on the go, does everything that you're supposed to do in an ultra, only to see Ivan the Terrible pass him every day at 12. And Ivan, like, I'll call him Ivan, he slows down, he has a little chat, and Chris gets a little bit annoyed and says like, come on dude, like just go on your own pace.
It's constant mind games, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it's mind games. I think that Erwin is just chill. As he said, he's on a holiday.
And I think what's interesting, they've kind of settled into a rhythm, and there are bands of riders out there, and they overtake each other. One might sleep, and they just keep seeing each other when they get to the refuges. And so they've got these little competitions within competition.
There was a big jump in the night with Lucas Becker, who did the hiker bike yesterday, end of day, late afternoon, and Will, who didn't. And Will was like quite comfortably, like I think 35 kilometers ahead of Lucas for quite a long time, and now he's far behind because Lucas did the jump and caught him back. And then this morning they had breakfast together, and it was a beautiful scene, because you might think there's rivalry, but it's actually just two friends that have they're not even friends, but they have massive respect for one another. So it's fun to see. They say see you later to each other, even though it seems hard now for Will to catch up on Lucas.
Tell us about your job. I mean, this is difficult. This is a race that's going on non-stop. Yeah. You have to be there to capture the best photos at any time of day. How do you make sure you're in the right place? How do you make sure you get the sleep you need?
Well, the sleep you need, that's not really an option.
Helps that you're an ultra racer and
you're
depending
drinking
on Red Bull.
Yeah, like it gives one wing at a time after a week. I don't know. We we just go where the dots are. Sometimes you make some calculations, like if there's a climb, obviously it's going to go slower. Then you have to calculate your traffic. You compare Google, the tracker, and Komoot, and then you anticipate that the tracker is always later than it says it is. So I think
one thing that's important is we have our own trackers for the race organization team as well.
Yeah, I don't use it. I actually use the location on my phone, because you can use the location in the tracker, and I do that, and I can see my tracker is there, my location is here. Yeah. So that also gives me an idea of like how fast the tracker goes, because obviously the tracker cannot be live. That would be amazing, but it would take about like 5 nuclear plants.
And I think we anticipate things as well. We see something that's about to transpire.
Yeah, for instance, yesterday we missed Lucas. We drove with Katerina, and she's a rally driver. She's fast and stuff. But I told her, look, like, we're not gonna break the law to get one guy hiking his bike. So we arrived at the bottom of the climb, and it's a part where there's no more network, so you don't rely on anything else than just like just guessing. So we started climbing, because we knew that we were behind him, and then I started asking people who were coming down trekking, like, have you seen a guy with a bike? And they were like, oh yeah, we've seen a guy with a bike. Like, what's wrong with him? And then we were like, how long ago was it? And first it was like 2 young girls. They were like, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then it was like 2 Italian dudes, and they were like, wow, that was 30 minutes. And then we had like a Ukrainian man who told us, like, you're never gonna catch him. And we were like, oh yeah? He was like, yeah, because he's got a bike. And so we didn't catch Lucas, but we had other things to do there. The parcours, this hiker bike section is a key point of the race. Riders are obviously not forced or encouraged to take it, but it's a huge shortcut. And according to some specialists, it's not really that hard of a hiker bike. I had to do half of the hiker bike with my bike the night before with Eduardo, a photographer, and I hated it. And I would never do it. I'd rather do 100K extra in a mountain. But many riders will try and take this shortcut, and they will save them a lot of time.
Well, we'll come on to that in just a bit. And I think it leans into a bigger picture, doesn't it? I mean, it's great that there's so much cool stuff going out on social media, but a big part of your job is to be here to be capturing these stories for a film.
Yeah.
And that is the idea. At least one film. This whole race, this dramatic experience that is unfolding, will be captured and brought to life later on with the footage that you and some of the other filmmakers are capturing.
Yeah, a lot of great footage from Antoine Bernet, who shot like the whole Spain part, and France, as I could like literally focus mostly on pictures. And now I'm switching to the film, and it's a collective film. That will be edited by Fanny Bensoussan, and Calvin also is a big part of it. You're a big part of it, obviously, and yeah.
Well, we hope you all look forward to seeing that when it comes to fruition. Eventually, so stay tuned. It is time for Hannibal's segment of the day with Ian, which needs the proper introduction. Over to you, Ian.
Hannibal's segment of the day. So, after Hannibal sacked Torino, as it used to be, which was the main town of the Torini tribe in this area around Turin, he carried on to the river Trebbia, where he fought the Romans. Now, at the river Trebbia, it was his first great victory. I won't go into any detail about it, but suffice to say the Romans were roundly thrashed in the first major battle of the Second Punic War. All the elephants died, though. All the elephants but one. According to legend, Surus, the Syrian elephant, survived the cold winter snap and went on to take Hannibal through the Arno marshes. We don't quite know how long Surus survived, but he survives with a name, the only named elephant out of the 38 which came from Cartagena in Spain.
There we go. Cyrus, the mighty Syrian elephant, I believe, as well, wasn't he?
Correct.
Let's jump into the race and where everyone is. Patrick, who have we got on the lead, and what's changed since yesterday?
We have Adam Bialek. He's far ahead. He's in the middle of the Tuscany, Siena, where we can find the Strade Bianche. You have Lucas Becker. is approaching the Tuscany region. Is going to the gate number 9. Is between Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna. Is a long climb, but is far away. So I think the first position, second position is already decided. And we have Bruno is really going really fast from yesterday night, and then we have Will Vousden, and then we have Rob Roy Cameron.
Just one thing about Will, he mentioned that like he had never stopped that long, so he might like refresh a bit. He might be he looked quite good on the climb. We saw him just before his U-turn, and he looked very fresh. So I think he will fight. He won't give up the fight. Yeah.
Ryan headed up there earlier today with Katerina, and they checked out the climb. And take a look; it's absolutely stunning.
Hello, everybody. So we are at the top of the Col del Nivolet.
Yeah.
Du Nivolet.
Yeah.
And we just saw Will Vousden passing and doing his return back.
Yeah.
And he will start his descent very shortly. And we catch up with few other riders.
Yeah, we've seen Bruno going up really fast, and we've seen Christian going down really fast. Well, we assume that like some riders now know their position better by crossing each other, and
Yes.
crazy amount of cyclists.
Yes, yes.
All right,
All
that
types of
that was about it. That's all we have to say.
Cut.
Ian, do you want to tell us a bit about what happened last night at the refuge? Because it was quite dramatic, wasn't it? Quite exciting. Different riders coming in at different times.
Yeah, so Lucas Becker did the hike bike from the north side of Nivolet in the daylights and descended into the refuge here and arrived just after Will Vousden had taken the road route to the refuge, but had not yet done the climb up to Nivolet. I really think that the two of the riders in second and third, Lucas and Will, arriving here at the Velodrome outside Torino was a pivotal moment, and the way that they looked at each other, it was with respect, but I think Will was a bit shocked that Lucas was here. And they had a conversation about how much they were sleeping. So Will was saying he was sleeping only 2.5 hours, whereas Lucas was on average saying that he was sleeping at least 4 or 5 hours. And I think that may have changed Will's approach to sleep, and realising that he's maybe suffering too much and moving too slowly with too little sleep. So we may be seeing a change towards much more sleeping and then riding fast during the day, which we know that Lucas is doing. So both riders, I think, were eyeing each other up, wondering what their next move was. Both stayed quite a long time. Both chatted to a lot of people, ate a lot, chatted to each other. Nice to see that kind of respectful rivalry. And both slept quite a long time. They didn't leave until about 5-6 o'clock.
5.
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
5?
Yeah, precisely.
5 precisely.
5 precisely.
Thank you for the precision.
Lucas is German after all.
But what's really interesting is, yes, they're at the same spot, but they couldn't both carry on directly east, could they? Because Will had put himself at a disadvantage. He had to go back up north, up the Nivolet to hit that gate before he started heading east.
Yeah, and as soon as Lucas had gone to bed, the heavens opened and we had a massive storm. Lightning in the sky, thunder, and very heavy rain for about an hour. So whether or not the riders planned this, or whether or not they were just lucky, none of them talked about the approaching weather. So I think they were just lucky.
I hope Christian was, because he was doing the hiker bike at that time.
Christian, who
Pitch
then
dark.
subsequently did the hiker bike
In pitch dark.
and didn't stop through the night.
Yeah.
It was going for 23 hours when he reached here. He was he reported no rain whatsoever, so it was
Oh, wow.
very localised in the plain around Torino.
It's quite a relief that none of the riders got caught in that, because it was severe.
I think Michele Pagano and Rob Roy Cameron were actually caught in that rain, but not.
Rob
for
Roy
very
got to Torino, didn't he? Just as the heavens started to open, got himself
I think
somewhere safe and dry.
He stopped in the Susa Valley in a bus stop for about 3 hours, so he managed to get some shelter. And Michele found some accommodation.
One of the riders that came through was Mark, and I managed to talk to him about how his race was going. You can watch that now.
So I'm here with Mark this morning. He's just set off from Refuge 2. How you feeling, buddy?
So far, so good. Been jogging a lot of smack now, about 15 minutes. So
he's moving quick. Must be feeling good this morning. Did you have a good rest?
yeah, well, no wish, wasn't enough. But it is what it is. I can sleep somewhere else on the.
It's never enough, is it, when you're doing a race like this?
Yeah, precisely. You can get rest afterwards.
So tell me, how's the race been going for you so far?
Ooh. Oh, that requires thinking. I obviously, position-wise, I don't seem to do like very badly.
Do you watch the tracker? Do you know where you are in the race?
Yeah, I sort of. I think like somewhere in the top 10. Let's put it like that. It changes all the time. Yeah, I tried to push that, and it went excellently on the climbs yesterday. But that's also my strength, climbing. And I saw it on the tracker. I mean, I think I put like maybe an hour, something between an hour or two into Rob on the climbs. That was quite, yeah, it was a good feeling. I cracked my rear rim somewhere in Spain, and I took a wrong turn at like 60 and went into a gravel road. But also at the same time getting a puncture, obviously. Yeah, and I mean, I guess like everybody, the heat was bad. Still is bad. I'm certainly struggling with it. Riding through the day in the flat sections and stuff, it's just like me in survival mode. Can't put any power down. If it's like 2 watts per kilo, then I'm already happy. Compare that to the climbs where I can sometimes still hold like 4. So
You sound very scientific about your approach.
I am.
What are you thinking about? What are you looking at?
Now the maps. The other data screens are like everything. So yeah.
And tell us about the mountains you've just crossed.
I did enjoy it very much. I mean, I love riding passes and stuff, but just uphill for that matter.
Patrick, tell us about the Italian contingent in the race. Who have you been watching? Who's your money on? Who do you think is going to do really well? Who are we going to see over the coming week?
Paolo Botti was riding pretty strong, but unfortunately he scratched due for the physical problem. Actually, we have Michele Pagano. He's in the top 10. He can try to get the third place. He has the advantage to know the territory, the environmental, the rules, Italian rules, and more we go to the south, and more he knows how to ride.
And I think you actually spoke to him, was it this morning at the refuge?
And
yeah, he was sounding pretty positive.
He's positive. Yesterday he took a strange decision. He could come to the refugee street, and he decided to go to Turin and take accommodation and sleep all the night and rest. This morning he said, I rest, I have a lot of food, I'm okay, I will try to save my energy, and then from Florence to go I will try to compete.
And he likes the hotter temperatures. He thinks that's his advantage.
Yeah, he was a lot on it. He's really tired, so I think he's comfortable to ride along in the hot weather. Yeah,
he's certainly been floating there and thereabouts amongst the top 10. So yeah, it will be really interesting to see if we start mentioning his name more, and hopefully we can catch up with him. So yeah, very interesting to get your insight into the Italian riders. Thanks for that. But finally, it leaves us to predict what might be happening in the next 24 hours. This is a complicated one. I think a lot of things might be changing. Ian, you've got one prediction, one exciting thing you're looking forward to seeing or you're expecting to see.
So I think the race for third place is really going to shake up. We have so many guys, I think something in the region of 6 or 7. I think all the guys are now sleeping a lot more. We've seen Bruno sleeping more, Will Vousden sleeping more like 5 hours this morning during the night from his usual 2.5. Rob has realised he hasn't been sleeping enough and has been really suffering on the bike, crawling along. Christian, I'm not sure he is in a rhythm, so he's just pushing and pushing hard. And then we have Michele Pagano, who is in a rhythm and just sleeping really well and riding really well as first Italian. That's a tough one. But I think Bruno looked particularly fresh. He was eating well, he was moving really fast. I think we may find after the event that he may have been fastest up Nivelle.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Those stats will be
fast.
fascinating.
And he was second in Mittelgebirge this year, ahead of Adam. So we know he has both climbing and descending skills.
And he's someone who seems to be playing the long game well and just appearing out of the pack when he needs to as the race moves into the second half.
Well, he definitely suffered from some mild heat stroke in the first couple of days, and he went from, who knows, 40th, 50th, very far down. He lost a lot of time those first couple of days to now third. This is an amazing performance, and we still have quite some distance to go, so he has time to make up on Lucas, maybe.
We will see. Ryan, what are you expecting to see? Any changes over the next 24 hours in the positions?
I have no idea. To be honest, I have no idea. I wouldn't bet on anyone except Adam. But I think Lucas is very happy with what he did. I think will take a blow indeed. I'd like to see Rob Roy continue his mad crusade, since he is the east of Madrid guy. But I have no idea. To be fair, I'm not an expert.
Well, I think we can safely say, whatever happens, you'll be there capturing some beautiful photos with your camera. And that's what we need. Patrick, tell us, give us a prediction for one of the Italian riders. Do you think they're gonna accelerate themselves through the field?
I mean, he's pretty strong. He has a lot of strength. Is it the second time he made ultra cycling race? I think more we go to the south, to his hometown, because he's from Puglia. Mm-hmm. We're not far from Giovinazzo at the end of the race, and more is comfortable riding along that road.
He'll get the home road advantage and the weather that he's used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hot, but I checked the forecast, and it seems like some storm will come down, so all the riders have slipped a lot. But at the same time, for the third place, the game is going to be who's going to ride more.
There we go. Watch this space for myself, from Ian, from Ryan, and from Patrick. That is all for today. Tune in again tomorrow. Ciao for now.